Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing today, tonight, this morning, this evening, whatever time it is? I hope you're doing well. But here we are, back with another episode of the week after. Hey man, this week in the college football was a good one. Some people did the Lord's work, some people didn't, but it's okay because enough was done for me. Okay, that's all I care about. Enough was done for me. Okay, now, as y'all know, the person I do this with, I'm not gonna say, they say something sooner. I'm not gonna say that, but that sooner. That being said, Mr. Theory, Mr. Theory,
Hey man,
did the Lord's work, man.
thank you for the proper introduction. Listen, man, we'll talk about it, but it wasn't no Sooner magic. It was a straight ass kicking, dominance, start to finish, took care of business, play like the team I knew were capable of playing like all year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then obviously the game plan was flawlessly executed. What you got to do, especially in the predicament that we're in, with injuries, the lack of personnel available. So took care of business. Excited to dive into it. But like Carlos said, there was a lot that happened this weekend outside of our game. A lot of tough games, a lot of teams getting upset, close matchups, things like that. And if you're new here, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys think about the upcoming playoff polls that will be released on Tuesday, some of the rivalry games, things like that, which we'll address in the next episode. And we're excited to dive into it. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Carlos jump this one off with
Yes,
Texas and
sir.
Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
Go into that first.
Yeah. I gotta move around here. Hold on. I have to say this because if I don't, he's gonna yell at us. But Baylor is on a fiver. Go Bears! Beat Houston in Houston 20-10. Shout out the Bears, man. They got to do some stuff some stuff has to go their way for them to make the Big 12 championship. But I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, too many variables.
Yeah, too many variables. But hey, crazier stuff happened this weekend, so it's possible. But yeah, shout out the Bears on a 5-game win streak. Go Bears! We're talking down on them, kind of all season long, but seems like they're turning things around, finally putting everything together, and they're showing what they can do. So go Bears! Shout out Sawyer doing his thing. But you know, the game was a lot more of an ass whooping than short score shows. I'll say that. We had 5 turnovers. Well, no, sorry. We had 2 turnovers, but we had 5 fumbles. Can't be having that. Can't be having that. No picks, thankfully, but, well, I guess they scored at a fumble, but it depended on how you want to score that scoop and score or pick six. That could have been a pick, but they labeled it as a fumble. But that was their only, I guess, pick if you want to call it a pick. But overall, defense looked great. We played them the best out of anybody's played them this year. Um, as in the top teams, as in like Tennessee, Georgia, Ole Miss. Who else they played?
That's it from like the top level in the
Yeah,
SEC they played.
and we played them the best, and I couldn't have been happier with it, with the performance that we gave, because it kind of just shows like everybody's talking about our strength of schedule and like how we don't play anybody, we don't have that win, but like all these people that we have beat Arkansas, Oklahoma, um, who did Florida, like all these teams that are like mid-level teams that people are harping us. Oh, you have an easy schedule. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Tennessee. They beat Alabama. Like they beat these top tier teams that they're playing against, and we beat them, and we have beat them convincingly. So that's why I don't like people keep bringing up our strength of schedule and whatnot, but like these mid tier teams are beating these top tier teams that we're convincingly beating, with the exception of I guess you could say Arkansas. Um, we beat them by 10, but that game is just completely different because of what the basis of the game is based around. I mean, they hate us, you know. They want to do everything they can to beat us, and we went in there at Arkansas and we took care of business, which is something Tennessee couldn't do. So again, with what did we say last week? Every team they held to 7 points in the first quarter. They held Georgia to 13 total points. Like they've held all these teams to X amount of points, but we go and put it 31 on them. You know, so it showed that we can move the ball. I mean, I think we did get held to 7 points in the first quarter, but let me check real quick. But yeah, 7. Yeah, but we scored 17 in the second. So we did our thing. I mean, we won at the end of the day. It's all you can ask for. But again, back to what I was saying is the fumbles is we had 5 of them. We lost 2 of them, but we had 5 fumbles and we had a muff punt. I don't know if that counts as a fumble. Does that count as a fumble?
For sure. Yeah.
No, but like as in like on the stat line, or is that his own stat?
It's a fumble.
It's a fumble. Yeah. Okay, so we had 5 fumbles, 4 from our core players and 1 from a muff punt. We can't be having that, man. Especially this time of year. It's you gotta have the turnovers to at most 1 if you're gonna have any, and it has to be at the start of the game if we're gonna have it, not at the end of the game. Luckily, we didn't. We only lost 2 out of the 5, and we got majority of them back. But like I said, the pick, fumble, whatever you want to roll it as, that was a scoop and score. They scored a touchdown on that, so we only held the offense to 7 points. So, I guess another big thing was Quinn. Quinn was hurt, and you could tell visibly he was hurt. You could barely walk, and I think that did kind of affect his play. And I think that's why he did fumble the snap. Just, I don't think you're worried about like catching the football. You're just kind of worried about your ankle and protecting it. I understand it's his last game at DKR. But at the end of the day, you don't want it to be your last college football game. I feel like they should have taken him out and put an arch just to make sure he was good. And I mean, I think we can all attest to this. I was a former athlete before. I played baseball, wasn't football, but I think the concept is still the same. When you're injured, you don't want to come out the game, no matter how bad the injury is. Like if you think that, like if nothing is broken, you're gonna do all you can to stay out there because you're just a competitor at the end of the day. And I think you can attest to that too. Like if nothing is broken on you and you can walk and you can still throw the ball or you can still run or you can still catch the ball, you're gonna stay out there. Like that's just what we do. You're not gonna want to get pulled from the game, especially it being your last game at DKR. So I can see why Sark left him out there, but I thought he should have been pulled. I thought Art should have just played the remaining of the game. We were in control of the whole game, so why not just let him rest? Let Arch give it a go, and rest him up for the important week you have this week because he had an MRI done on his ankle, and it's fine, but still, like you're putting, I guess, his body up for injury, just keeping him in. So,
yeah, and I thought you guys did some good things, especially in the run game. Conchabrian Wisner ran the ball for 100.
We ran the ball. We ran the ball really well. He had 100. We had over 158 yards. That's what it was. Yeah. 158 yards. 26 yards. Yeah. Blue. I really love Blue, man. It just I don't know what it is. Because like with y'all, like the fumbles, I said it's coaching because multiple people do it, But with us, it's him. Like he's the only one who does it. So it's just something with him. Like the ball security isn't there. I don't know what it is, but he just has trouble. Like when you watch him run, it looks fine. It's not like he's holding the ball loose or anything. He just, I don't know. It just never stays in his hands. I think I saw a stat. Out of his career,
25.
25 carries. Every 25 carries, he's averaging a fumble, which is not good.
Yeah.
Especially going into the league, because he was one of the big people that he was the person that had that picture of when we had all of our running backs here, Roshan Johnson, him. Bijan, like all these people and he had the picture up because they're all in the league except him in that picture. because he's still in college. But it's gonna be hard getting into the league when you just can't hold on to the ball.
Yeah, especially in the NFL. Like, if you fumble once, like, I mean, it just so catastrophic. And he's also like, he's a good back, but like Adrian Peterson, we use him for example. He had a fumbling problem in the NFL for a little bit, but it's Adrian Peterson at the end of the day. Like, generational, game changing player. You can kind of get away with some stuff. I
Yeah,
think Jaden Blue is really, really good. I mean, he's one of the most elusive running backs in the open field. He always makes some guys miss. He's very fast, very explosive. But at the end of the day, I mean, this goes back to the national or to the semifinal game last year against Washington.
two
I mean, he
fumbles.
fumbled in that game, and it's kind of trickled down. And obviously, Texas has been good enough on everywhere else to kind of overcome those. But I mean, with the expanded playoff, with Texas trying to push for a playoff and a national title, you're going to play multiple games in these playoffs. You're going to need every possession. You can't just give away the ball, the football, especially against good teams, because it will come back and bite you. And obviously, like, Contravian Wisner has really stepped up this year when Cedric Baxter went down, and obviously you guys have some other backs like Gibson and things like that. But you would expect from someone like Blue, who has been there a long time, has probably
He's a
had the most
veteran. Yeah,
experience in the backfield, to not fumble the ball as much. And he's kind of lost his job, I feel like, due to that, because he
yeah,
started off as the guy, started fumbling the ball. Wisner has been kind of the hot hand, and especially at running back, you kind of ride with the hot hand. Usually, it's not uncommon for the RB1 to kind of take back seats throughout the season.
yeah.
And
I mean, and like I said, y'all are experienced for the first hand with Tatum. Like Tatum's a better running back, but like he just has a fumbling issue.
yeah,
And like
and I don't even know if he's the best now because of what we've seen from Xavier.
that's true. Yeah,
Like,
that is true as well. Yeah, and then like you just leave it up for like you're taking your own career out of your hands with you fumbling because, like you said, we going in when the season started, he was in the game running the ball. He looked like RB1, but then he had the fumbles, and then now you're getting less and less snaps because you're fumbling, and then you having other guys get a better feel of the game, and they're just kind of taking over.
yeah,
Um,
it's
and that's happened on both of our teams.
yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, like I said, I just think that's kind of been an issue. But something that impressed me is that y'all had that drive at the end of the game where you guys ran the ball and closed the game out. Obviously Quinn was banged up, but being able to do that and close the game out is championship level football.
Yep.
Not having to have to throw all the time. I know on the first drive that Texas had, Golden had like almost 60 yards on that first opening drive.
Yeah.
So being able to win multiple ways, whether that be in throwing the ball or now you guys seem to be getting back into running the football well, I think that's going to pay dividends for the home stretch. And shout out to the defense again. Y'all played great defense. McDonald had a fantastic interception, diving across the field and picking off the QB. And I thought
That was a
Kentucky
great pick.
played good for what they have. Obviously, they're outmanned, but they got some NFL
I mean,
guys.
they're down to what their third string quarterback.
Well,
Or they
no, Brock Vandergrift's their starter.
Yeah.
He's just hurt.
Yeah, and then the second string came in.
Yeah,
Didn't
and
they replace the second string?
Nah, the second string just played the rest of the game, the backup, because he was just more efficient, more healthier. He also was throwing the ball, I think, a little bit better in that game.
Oh yeah, but it was just bowling.
Yeah, but they had you guys have a good, or they have a good defensive lineman who Kelvin Banks did well against. Both those guys will be playing in NFL, the defensive lineman, and obviously Kelvin Banks. And then I was really impressed with the corner they had, number one. He's a really good corner. I think he'll play in the NFL for a long time. The guy they got back actually for this game. So it was good to see kind of the Texas wide receivers go up against NFL caliber DB.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I was gonna say is our offensive line looked really good against their defensive line because their defensive line has given other people trouble. So if we win this next game against A&M, we're in the SEC championship, and Georgia has already clinched. You know what happened the first game, so we're going up against another, in my opinion, elite defensive line. So if we can have success against them, it just looks more positive going into Georgia. So that was one thing I was going to point out was our offensive line looked really good. Just because this year, I don't know, it's a weird year. Like they aren't doing bad, but they aren't doing like
Up and down.
yeah, but they aren't doing like good. Like they're not doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
But like
There's flashes.
maybe they are.
Yeah.
We're just criticizing them too hard just because of what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, there's been flashes of it, and then there's been teams that have, made adjustments like
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, Georgia, obviously. Just teams have been able to kind of like wreck the game a little bit. And then also, I think you guys have, in certain instances, have kind of abandoned the run too early, which caused y'all to be more predictable than usual and not as balanced. So when you do that with the good defensive lines, they can kind of pin their ears back, and they know y'all are going to throw. So
Yeah.
that creates they're not hesitant to rush up field and whatnot because they're just like they're throwing. We're just going after the passer. We don't got to worry about them handing the ball off. So
Yeah, so the more you obviously the more positive you see, the better it's gonna be. Like I was telling Dev, this is off topic, but um, he basically he said there's only four. Now there's only three good teams in the nation according to him. It's or no four now because it was five. Now it's four, but it's Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas. He said those are the only four teams who can win a natty. And he said, but Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas all have a major issue. And then I asked what was Oregon's major issue because I wasn't sure. And then he said it's the same as Ohio State's, which is pass rush. They don't have a good pass rush defense. And I was like, well, this weekend y'all did great. And I was like, y'all got to the quarterback, and y'all are getting sacks and then making them in long drives. And he was like, yeah, but that's just because we just had better talent essentially than them.
100%.
And I was like, yeah, but sometimes like college football is just a game of momentum. Like sometimes you just whatever more talent or not, like once you just get that feel, once you just get that game of your defensive line just wreaking havoc, like that just carries over
Yeah.
into the next game. And that could happen in the Michigan. Then they did that against Michigan. Now they're really feeling themselves. Then
Yeah.
they go and play Oregon again, and they just do it against Oregon. And it's like, okay, this was the defensive line that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, it's all momentum and matchups. Like I was telling you, last week, like it's all momentum based. It's all matchups. Like I would also to his point, I'd probably throw Notre Dame in there as a team that could win a natty this year.
I don't know. It's their offense that it is because they're good. Don't get me wrong, they are great.
they're
It's
really
just
good.
it's their offense as in it's not it's based off of a run. Like that's what opens up so much is their quarterback runs a lot.
Yeah.
They run the ball out with their running backs.
Mhm.
We saw it against A&M. If you can get them to pass, they're not going to have much success.
No, for sure.
So if you can just contain the run, I think you're going to win the game.
Yeah, for sure. But I think, just from like, matchups, I think they can I think they can hang with anyone. I mean, they especially because of how good the defense is. They showed it last year too when they played Ohio State. Like regardless of if their offense is not as capable, maybe, but I think they kind of upgrade at the QB position and they're a little bit better on the outside. But it's crazy how that NIU game. Because I saw this tweet from this guy on Twitter, and he was like, "I'm tired of people talking about the NIU game. Like it happened, yeah, it is what it is. But not Oklahoma. Notre Dame has drastically improved since then,
Yeah.
and I agree. They've looked,
That was what, like week 4?
very week 2 and they
Week
lost.
2, yeah.
And they lost by 2. Like, yeah, I know they shouldn't lose the game, but since then,
Yeah,
I mean,
it was week 2. It's
been rolling.
literally week 2.
And so much changes. I mean, teams get way better or worse. That's how it is every year. Teams start off hot and peak early. Teams peak late, and good teams, since it's college football, will have struggles throughout the season. But if they still win their games or even just drop one, like they're still good teams. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I guess going on to matchups and momentum. Hey, y'all did the Lord's work, man. Hey, I was wrong. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, I think last week I didn't really get to listen to much like sports stuff. Or it wasn't on like Twitter like that. But um, I guess a lot of people are saying just like Alabama's just the best team in the country right now, and I was just saying that like just from me just watching them, and they look to be getting better. They look to be getting dangerous and hot at the right time, and that's why I said I think y'all it's gonna be built to ass, and then you're like, we've never got blown out, which is true, but I mean, it can always happen. But I was wrong. I was completely wrong, and it went the completely opposite side. Y'all gave them belt to ass and blew them out. If you only scored 3 points in a game, you got your ass whooped. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
and that was the first time Alabama has only scored 3 points since like 2011. So it doesn't happen like ever, which is a huge testament. And this is a good offense. This is one of the best offenses in the country, especially when they're rolling. They obviously last week, I mean, Jalen Milroe had 200 rushing yards on LSU, and now we know LSU's defense isn't the best, but this is still a team with elite weapons all over the place. They have one of the best offensive minds in the sport with Kalen DeBoer. Um,
well, this is kind of. I remember when and what game it was, but when I said Alabama is only as good as Jalen Milroe plays, and then you kind of disagreed with me, but I still kind of stand on that. Like Jalen Milroe plays bad, they're not good. But if he plays good, they're gonna beat the hell out of you, and that kind of showed that this weekend.
100%. And like I said in our last week's video, and we posted a clip, I said the keys to victory were, make Milroe play quarterback. Obviously, yes, he plays quarterback, but really make him play quarterback, have to throw, make reads, make decisions, take away what he wants to do. Great athlete, can run the rock better than most people in the country. You got to take that away. You got to dominate the line of scrimmage. And from an offensive standpoint, we had to run the ball and control the clock. And we did all three things, but we not only did all three things, we dominated in all three facets. Starting it off right, we know we had a interesting first play, right? We've been running Jackson Arnold. It seems like every first play of every game since he's became the starter again. He seems like one of those QBs who needs to get hit like right away, get into the flow of the game, things like that. And I just love some of the run concepts Joe John called. I think that initially wasn't the game plan to run him as much, but when they started to have so much success with it, I'm glad he finally was like, hey, they can't stop it, so just keep running it. Like, there's no reason to like try to get cute and throw the ball or do this and that. Like, if you're running the rock and you're getting 5-6 yards of carry, why would you stop, right? Like, you're going to continue to get first downs. You're also going to take time off the clock. What I really liked is us, bouncing back. With Taylor Tatum, we got in the red zone early. Taylor Tatum fumbles the ball. I'm thinking, here we go again, right? It's been the same song and dance. It's been happening to us all season. Alabama, moves the ball a little bit down the field. They throw a pass to Ryan Williams. Thankfully, he steps out of bounds. They call a touchdown back. And then, we play great defense in the red zone.
That was a crazy catch, by the way.
Dude, he's different. That guy's different.
That was a crazy catch.
Like that was the thing. I was like literally when they throw him the ball, I'm like, bro, he's finna, bro. He every time, like he's one of those players. I'm like, bro, he's finna catch it and do some shit. Like that's just who he is, and he's shown us that. But we get in the red zone, hold him to a stop, was a great stop by the defense, and then we get the ball back, move the ball again down the field, run a trick play. Bauer Sharp drops a pass. Obviously, it wasn't the best throw from Brendan Thompson, but you're wide open. You got to catch the ball, and you can't drop passes like that against Alabama. So I'm thinking, here we go again. Wasted opportunity. You can't waste opportunities like that, especially when you're so outmanned, right? I'm like, we need that. We need every single point. Then we kick the field goal, shank it. I'm like, damn. So defense, though, starts really bowing their neck, and they really start, shutting down Alabama from their running standpoint. The dudes were flying all over the place. The whole defense played really good. It was one of the best games I've seen from, Ethan Downs in particular. I mean, he's actually a big game player. I mean, he did it last year against Texas. Every game, like he plays in big games, he plays well. A guy I think who should get drafted, in my opinion. I mean, he was second team all conference 2 years in a row in the Big 12. And obviously he's not the best at pass rushing, but he's just a sound defensive end, makes plays, stops the run. Danny was in control all night, getting people lined up. Secondary played really well. And I want to highlight Eli Bowen, Peyton Bowen's little brother.
True freshman or red shirt?
True freshman. True freshman, 3-star. A lot of people thought he only got recruited to OU because of Peyton, but That never was the case. Even the staff indicated it wasn't the case. And ever since he's became the starter, he's one of the best corners in the country as a freshman. I mean, every game he's matched up against top guys, he's been in position. The touchdown, Theo Weiss caught on him against Missouri. He's right there. He's just 5'9". He's not that big. Made a great tackle on Milroe, trying to bounce it. Comes up and tackles. He plays really good defense. I think I saw a stat. Only 3 players played 63 snaps for OU, and the 3 players were, let me see, I just liked it on Twitter. The 3 players were Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman, 2 seniors, and then Eli Bowen. So it shows that they have a lot of trust in him as a true freshman.
They only missed 3 snaps?
No, they played 63. They played
they played every single.
Like they didn't come out.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But
was an ice bath for sure.
But those guys, they were a lot of them were way more fresh than usual because the offense was actually able to control the clock, run the ball. We dominated them in time of possession, and we played really well. We forced 3 turnovers. Before I get to the offense, we forced 3 turnovers. Eli Bowman,
or
1 pick or 2 pick sixes, or 1 pick 6, 2 picks, and then 3 picks. Actually, 3 picks. First pick, Eli Bowen reads a screen, jumps the route.
Like this shit right here, man.
Well done by him. It's really hard to take a risk like that, but that also just shows film study, knowing what you see, diagnosing the play, and jumping the route. I saw a post earlier this morning that Greg McElroy had and I knew it was going to be like this. Like I knew we weren't going to get our credit that basically Alabama threw the game away. No, all those picks weren't because of Milroe. We forced those. He jumps a screen. You pick that off. The next pick, the pick 6 from Kip Lewis, and he's playing a hell of a career right now at OU. Plays it right, runs underneath the curl route. Do you think
if this would have happened, things would have been different?
No.
Because it's gonna be 10-24 at that point.
They're still losing. Yes, they catch the ball.
That's a crazy catch.
They couldn't stop us at all. And Milroe we were still getting to him. Like if you watch that, if you rewind that play, like we're still getting pressure. Like even when we weren't getting sacks, we were getting there. This is the pick 6 from Kip Lewis. Like
so you had 2 pick 6s.
No, we didn't. We only had 1 pick 6.
I thought Eli Bowen got a pick 6.
No, he just returned it, and then Xavier Robinson punched it in. Xavier Robinson had 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns.
All right, here it is.
Yeah. See, like we're creating pressure. Like we're you know what I'm saying? Like that's pressure.
Yeah, I mean it's pressure, but he still has a lot of time. I mean, it's still.
That's not. They're not.
One,
they're not winning.
3, 4.
We're looping right there. You know what I'm saying? Look at that coverage. He's right there. Like
yeah, it's Ryan Williams.
Look
perfect ball, perfect catch.
Look at his arm. You know what I'm saying? Like
perfect ball, perfect catch.
Like sometimes better offense.
Yeah.
I don't think that changes the game because we were just dominating the whole game. That would obviously, I think that was a touchdown. I think they got hosed on that call, but it doesn't change the game for me. But we were creating pressure. Our Mason Thomas, when he can rush the passer, one of the best in the country. I mean, he's been doing it all season long. He forced a hit on Milroe, which had the pass flutter. Woody Washington gets a pick, and that kind of seals the game. So defense played one of the best in my lifetime. That's probably the best I've seen them play, like start to finish through a game, well. Just dominating them. Then on offense, Jackson Arnold, I thought he played exceptionally well. This is from a guy who got benched, probably knew the game plan, probably knew he wasn't going to light up the passing yards, but bought into the game plan, knew he had to run the ball and took the rock. And even when he's had his issues fumbling the ball, bouncing back from a Missouri game where the way they lost, every time, it looked like he was about to get hit or take a big shot, 2 hands on the football, held on to it like his life depended on it. And he played well, really well. I mean, he made great reads in the run game, really showed his ability as a runner and as an athlete to run and convert first downs. And Xavier Robinson, this is a guy who, against Missouri and against Maine, obviously, I'm like, this dude's good. Why hasn't he been playing? Right? They say they're not going to burn his red shirt. They're going to burn his red shirt. Comes in against Alabama, runs for over 100 yards. True freshman, by the way, as well. 3-star out of Oklahoma, means something to him. He kind of scared me on the first touchdown because he jumped over the end zone, and like he obviously extended the football. He got across, but he dropped it like right when he got across. I was like, bro, of course, like that would happen to us. He's gonna drop it. It's gonna be a touchback, but he gets it. He scores that way, and he's just a patient running back, man. I think he runs with the most purpose. He's huge. He's like 6'3", like a 6 foot 222, like big running back. He runs with purpose. He's faster than he looks. Like he's kind of got that deceptive speed, kind of like Kennedy Brooks, where he's just like, I don't know how he gets yards, but he gets yards. And he's doing really well. I think he's the best running back on the team right now. Obviously, Javonte Barnes has been hurt, and I think Taylor Tatum's potential is out of this world. He just has to hold on to the football. But all in all, they look good, man. The offensive line whooped their ass. There's point blank period. There's a ton of dudes on that defensive line, and the offensive line was just moving them off the rock. I thought the receivers blocked well. I thought, as much as I give Bauer Sharp for pissing me off this season, he played super well. I mean, he was inserting on blocks, picking up safeties, picking up linebackers, springing the running backs, a total team performance. And that's just what it looks like when you put it all together on tape.
Yeah.
Brendan Thompson got hurt, which sucks. He got a nice little slant.
Yeah.
And we're down there like wide receiver 6 and 7, but it didn't matter. We didn't have to throw the ball, and we ran for 260 yards more. We ran for more yards than Alabama had total yards.
Yeah.
So
if I was gonna give a big shout out to in-game ball to Jackson Arnold. I mean, he was a completely different player in this game. I would feel like his confidence was a lot higher, but I think his confidence was a lot higher just because he wanted to do this for the seniors that are there, and the season hasn't gone the way that they wanted it to, and I think they just kind of wanted to give them one last hoorah at home, senior night, whatever. But he looked phenomenal. He ran the ball really well. When he had to throw the ball, he made good decisions and choices, and on some of them it just extended drives, and so they didn't have to get off the field. And his run game was very, very well. 25 carries, 131 yards. If you're doing that as a quarterback, you're more than likely going to win the game, unless your name is Army. Yeah, I'm mad at that. But
yeah,
I mean, hey, I'm going to give him the game ball and big shout out to him. I think this gave him a lot of confidence in himself, and it's something that he needed. Going forward, I don't know what happens. It'll be interesting.
I agree.
I still think y'all should move on from him. Because he seems to be more of a runner than a thrower, which is completely fine.
And it's hard to assess too. I mean, like the offensive line's finally playing well. Like we kind of been playing well since Ole Miss, but he still has no guys to go to the ball. Like, receivers are young and talented that he's playing with, but they're all freshmen or walk-ons. It's like you're down 5-6 guys that you trust, guys that you probably gotten the majority of the reps with being the starter. It's just hard to have that trust, as opposed it's like, man, I'm throwing to, I love Jacob Jordan, the walk-on, but it's like I'm throwing to him. I was in the spring throwing to Farouk, Anderson, Burks, all those guys. Like some of those guys, you could just be like, hey, I'm gonna just throw you the ball, and I know you're gonna at least make a play or try to, right? Like some of these guys probably can't get open, didn't expect to play, things like that. So yeah, I want to give it credit, man. I mean, there's a best win in Brent Venables' career by far to me because of what's going on.
It's difficult for him because yes, he was throwing to these guys in the offseason, but then for some people to come out and say that Hawkins was doing better than him in the offseason and he should have been the starting quarterback. Like that's just like the way the whole season had just played out for him. It just doesn't seem right for him to just come back and play.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's the OC. We'll see what happens to the OC. Like the OC brings in a QB or whatever the case may be. Personally, I would love Jackson Arnold to stay. I mean, he is a 5-star for
even if Mateer comes.
Yeah, I would like for them to compete. Why not? At least see. I mean, you still got that other transfer window after. The only problem is that QB. You just need that spring wherever you're going to end up going to kind of get continuity with the team, learn that team's offense, whatever the case may be. But this shows me that this is a guy that You know, he could have tucked it in. He could have been like, man, we're not going to do anything this season. I want to save my red shirt so I can have 3 seasons still wherever I decide to go. The fact that he decided to, keep playing, especially when there's cards are against him, in my opinion, shows he wants to at least be at Oklahoma, and at least give the team his all. And that's something I told you on Saturday was that the team.
I'm parched today.
I know, talking that the team really plays for Brent Venables. I mean, with everything against them, they're still showing up and they fight their ass off. I mean, and it showed in this game. A defensive led team, but obviously,
but sometimes that just isn't enough, though. I mean, because our teams played for Charlie Strong back in the day.
It's not enough, of course, but you got to look at what's going on. We have 5 offensive linemen out. We're playing mostly freshmen, and they're finally gelling because, like I tell people, Bill Beating Ball is the best in the business. So they're finally getting developed and playing at a level they can play. And especially with all of them coming back next year, it'll look really good. Obviously, the receivers got to stay healthy. That is something that is catastrophic. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. But, like, you got to look at all that stuff. And you also got to look at what he was brought in to do, which was to completely change the defense and have them play at this level because it's the type of defense you need to win natties and to beat the top-tier teams like Alabama, like a Texas last year, like other teams you're going to play if you're trying to compete for national titles. So I think as long as we get the right OC, obviously good QB play, and then we have everybody come back healthy, you got to at least run it back with him because the defense is too good to just completely rebuild it. It's way too good to do that. I mean, we've defended the most possessions in the country, and even against the top-level teams, we've still held them all under their season averages in scoring and yards.
So
with having an offense to kind of play complementary football.
I mean, you really don't know what's going inside closed doors with family and also a kid's mind. But after y'all won, after we won, after A&M lost, are you still confident Fossey is going to Oklahoma?
Yes. I mean, he left the visit early too, is what I know. And he posted the score on his story. He went to the wrong game. Simple. I mean, he saw the offensive line, If Bill's there, I think he's
But he also saw our offensive line as well.
Yeah, it didn't look like ours looked different.
Obviously it's a different game, but
better competition.
Yeah. But he's going this weekend to Texas and Texas A&M. So
not confirmed. He's not there until he shows up.
That's true. That's what's said.
I think he sticks with OU. I mean, it makes the most sense for him. I think a lot of it is, from what I know, there's so many other, variables that are in this recruiting nowadays with NIL and things like that. I think he goes OU and plays there. I think if we would have lost the game, he'd have been more in danger of, flipping. But I think the way they played, what
if y'all lose the last game against LSU? Do you think it changes anything?
No, I don't think it matters because I think
even if y'all lose y'all's bowl game, you think he's a lock no matter what? No matter what happens, he's a lock unless y'all lose.
Yeah, because he's gonna be exactly. He's gonna be an early enrollee too. So if we make a bowl, we're making the bowl game now. He's gonna be there.
Bowling, baby.
Yeah, like I said, man, I've never seen us not make a bowl, and it still holds true. 26 years active bowl streak.
Okay, that's where the show ends.
Some fan bases can't say that, but
okay. Well, this is gonna be the Carlos pin knitted 54 yards a week after going forward.
Yeah, some can't say that, but hey, I'm glad. Honestly, we're obviously not playing for what Texas is playing for, but I want the bowl game for the experience. The team has they've been playing so many young guys. You bring in the young recruits, you continue to get these guys practice that matter and continue the development. It's basically another spring ball if you make a bowl game. So it's so key, especially with a team like us.
Can he play?
Yeah, they can.
They can.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, in the bowl game. They won't. I don't think anyone will. But it's just cool too. You think about it. You get out of high school, you finish playing high school football, and then you show up to the college you're going to in the same year, and you're already practicing. Traveling with the team, learning stuff. Like it's
Getting
so
bowl gifts in here.
bowl games. And hopefully, I'm saying it right now live on the podcast. Like USC won their bowl game. I would love for
Won their game.
the bowl committee to put us in a matchup. We got some unfinished business with them boys, but all in all, it's all performance, excited. And
I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but
I mean, hey, they can pull some strings, man.
Yeah, great job for OU. Great job for Texas. We both won. Also, other thing I forgot to mention. To round of applause. First back-to-back 10-win season since 2009.
Yeah, I mean that's good. I mean, like we said, Sark.
Forgot to mention that.
He's the guy. I mean, I'm not gonna. No one's gonna say Texas is back because y'all's expectation is to win
beat 10+ win seasons every year.
Consistently doing that. But the rebuild is there. I mean, 5-7, 8-4, or 8-5, or whatever it was, and then playoff appearances last year, and then potentially this year. So, it's good for Texas.
What was his first season, like 7-6 or something like that?
5-7.
5-7, 8-5. 8-5. Then 10 wins. 10 wins. Well,
yeah,
we went.
Y'all won 11 games.
11 games. 12 games. 11 games.
11 games last year. Yeah.
No, 12 games, I think, because we played the Big 12.
Lost to us.
Yeah.
So 12 games.
12 games last year. 10 this year. Hopefully it's 12 this year again plus. But yeah, back-to-back 10-win seasons, first time since 2009. So shout out to the boys. Sorry, you my guy. Looking in the rearview, what happened this week? Chaos is what happened. We already talked about one of them. Oh, you did the Lord's work. Thank you, Cam. Appreciate that. The Big Ten will come down to the next week to determine who will clinch the final championship spot. I personally think it's going to be Oregon, Ohio State. I don't think Michigan.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen.
Ohio State, but
Oregon
we've
loses.
seen that. Hey, it's two rivalries. Anything can happen. That's the beauty of college football.
Sure.
We've seen crazier things this week, so it's very, very, very possible. And you know me, I love to see them upset. So if it was to happen to anybody but us, go ahead, man. But yeah, Big Ten comes down this week. Google me. Number 2, Ohio State dog walks. Number 5, Indiana runs to a 38-15 win. I mean, dude, I was watching this game, and I was gonna text you. I did text you when it would turn to 14-7, but I was gonna text you before that and just be like, Indiana's just not ready.
The lights were just a little too big for them, man.
Yeah, it was not pretty at all. They did not look comfortable in anything they did. It's typical Ohio State fashion, go down 7-0, and you're playing against Indiana. It's a big game, so now we're actually thinking like, is this the time? And then, it just turns into nightmares for them. They're getting sacked. They're blocking punts. They're muffing. They're they're botching the snap and giving Ohio State good field position, and it's just one thing after another. And Ohio State just ends up running away with it in the second quarter. They go 14-7. They don't score any points second quarter. Halftime comes out. Ohio State puts up 14 points. They still haven't scored. And then it wasn't until the fourth quarter they finally got back on the board. They scored a touchdown, went for 2. They converted, but Ohio State has 10 points in the fourth quarter. Ultimately, they win 38-15. Indiana was held to a season low on 153 yards of offense, as Ohio State's defense will never really be threatened, and they could easily establish any. They could not establish any consistent offense. Like I said, they were getting sacks. Let me see how much. So Cody Simmons had 4 sacks. Sonny Styles had 3 sacks. Caleb Down had 2. Oh no, those are not sacks. Those are tackles. I was about to say, damn. But Cody Simmons still had 2.5 sacks. JT, don't know how to pronounce the last name, had a sack. And then Jack Sawyer had a sack and a half as well. So they had 5 sacks. I don't think has been done for them this year. So it's for them to get that type of pass rush, that says a lot. And then, their offense is going to be their offense. But this game was just not close at all. You can see the talent discrepancy on the field, for sure. And it kind of, well, no, I'm not gonna say it kind of sucks because since a lot of magic happened, I think Indiana's still in it. Um, at the end of this game, I think we could all agree that their playoff chances were just kind of out of there. With the strength of schedule and then just getting blown out to a top tier team, it just kind of shows you where they're at. But obviously, with the stuff that happened, I think they're gonna be right there at number 11. Who they play next week? Yeah, Purdue. So I think they get in there right at number 11. But yeah, it wasn't close. It wasn't close at all.
Yeah, thankfully for Indiana, the chaos was not done, and a ton of teams lost. So, like me and you said later on in the day, we were like, they'll probably still make the playoffs. I mean, they just got to win their last game, and they'll make it. Especially they only have one loss. You can't qualify putting some of these other 3-loss teams over them unless it's like South Carolina, who is like hot. I think recency bias, does play a big factor. If South Carolina beats Clemson, and maybe a couple other things happen.
At the end of this, I will give my personal top 12 again.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, all in all, going to be quick on this. I think Indiana just don't have enough yet. It just clearly shows there's just different tiers in college football. As good as they have been, and as good as the story's been, Ohio State is just still, in my opinion, the front runner to win the Natty. And as you said too, they just have an answer for everything. Their defense is completely stacked. They can score any way. They have great receivers, probably the best in the country, and then they have great running backs. Will Howard is actually playing really good football as well, and I thought he'd be kind of the downfall to them, but I mean, he's played well.
I mean, I feel like it's still their kind of weakest link of the team.
Yeah, for sure. But he still played well in at least all his big games so far. Penn State, Indiana, and Oregon. He's showed up in all those games. So,
which is crazy to think about because you can get Texas, Ohio State, and Georgia, 3 out of the top 4 teams,
and all their weakest links
their weakest link is a quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree.
Crazy.
Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, I mean, it was a good game. Excited to see kind of how it finishes in the Big Ten. I'm hoping to get that Ohio State Oregon rematch, just because they literally lost by a point. So I'm excited to see it on a neutral side.
They had to cheat to win. I think on the neutral side, Ohio State wins.
And quick little note: OU has 3 all-conference weekly players: Fabechi Nwewu, co-offensive lineman of the week; R. Mason Thomas, defensive lineman of the week; and then SC freshman of the week, Xavier Robinson. So shout out to those guys.
We got miracles happen. This was my upset alert game of the week, and it was very much in danger all the way to the very end. Penn State overcomes a slow start, lean on defense to overcome Minnesota to keep playoffs hope alive, won 26-25. It came down to the wire. They had to run a fake punt to win the game. And on that fake punt, they got like 40 yards or something, 50 yards. Got a lot of yards on that fake punt, but it came down to the wire. This was my upset game of the week. It's not easy to play there. They're not a bad team. I mean, well, they're not a good team. They're not a bad team, but like they play tough physical football. That's how Minnesota is. They just play they play very coach well football and they wreak havoc sometimes. But this was my upset game of the week. Minnesota did not score a single touchdown in the second half. 2 field goals would help to put points on the board to keep the score close. But the touchdown by Nick Singleton in the third quarter, followed by a field goal, would give the Nittany Lions a 26-22 lead. Minnesota would then kick a field goal, make it 26-25. And then Penn State just rounded the clock out at that point. But it was a very close game.
I watched this game on Wheels because I didn't really watch much of it at all, but I watched the recap on Wheels, and it was this Minnesota they showed up to play, and then Penn State, had a couple special teams woes, which kept the game closer than it really was, in my opinion. But it's like we said, Penn State isn't as good as people think, but it is hard to continually win games. especially in the Big Ten and these tougher conferences, and on the road. At the end of the day, like they at the end of the day they had to move the ball down the field to close the game out. They did that. Do I think they're as good as they're ranked? No, but they are. I think a playoff team. Their defense is really, really good.
Maybe. I mean, they are, but like they're not.
A maybe. They are.
No, they are, but they're not. Like they are a playoff team because they only have one loss to Ohio State, but they're not because like we'll even say Alabama. Like if Alabama plays them, I think Alabama beats them.
Yeah.
Like if there's other teams like in the SEC, maybe even the ACC, if they played them, they beat them. So that's what I'm saying. Like they are because of their
that's not an easier schedule than normal. They don't play Michigan this year, and they didn't play Oregon.
Yeah,
they only play Ohio State. So
so that's what I say. They are, but they aren't just because their record.
Product of the schedule.
Yeah. But yeah, close scare. That was my upset alert of the week, and then it came down to the wire. So they won. They continue. They're kind of a lot because I think they have their last game is an easy game.
Yeah, they should be in
Maryland. Yeah, well, it's not an easy game, but they should win the game.
They should win.
They should win.
Yeah.
Now to the chaos, really. Who will play for the Big 12 championship? Now, beginning of the season, we kind of had Oklahoma State at the top. Who else was at the top? Kansas State. I'm trying to think who else, but it's just kind of flipped.
Kansas State, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Utah,
and it just kind of flipped, and it's been a roller coaster for the Big 12. Colorado just had to win; they controlled their own destiny, and they blew it this weekend. So now the Big 12 is kind of up for grabs. Forks up. Number 21 State sends BYU on a 2-game skid, and Tempe should be a 3-game. BYU could not overcome early turnovers and mental mistakes, leading Arizona State to take advantage by jumping up a couple scores early. A mad dash in the second half by BYU would bring the game within 5, but after a stalled offensive drive by ASU, a premature rushing of the field, BYU heaved a Hail Mary to attempt to, which on that Hail Mary, I thought the quarterback would at least get in the end zone because he has like a decent arm to where he should get in the end zone, and they caught it. So I do wonder if he would have got in the end zone, would it have been different? But Hail Mary to win. The fans rushed the field with 1 second on the game clock, and it came down to the wire. And I saw it, and because Cam was like, "Yeah, BYU lost," and then I texted him a few minutes later, I was like, "BYU." With the eyes, because they had one play left, and it's the Big 12. It's a magical conference, and it kind of just seems like anything can happen in that conference. But Arizona State, held on to it. Shout out Bo Scadaboo, 147 yards and 28 carries with 3 touchdowns. Would you say? Nah, he's not the best, but which kind of sucks. But he's up there for a top running back. It's such a running back heavy conference because you think of Taj, you think of Neal, you think of Scadaboo, you think of
K-State's running back's good.
Yeah, I was gonna say K-State's running back is good. I can't remember his name.
Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, and they're in a running back heavy conference, and he's right up there with them. So, number 16, Colorado falls behind early, can't make up for Jayhawks. So the Jayhawks become the first team in college football eras to take down 3 ranked teams in back-to-back weeks. 37. Colorado lost 37-21. Kansas, like we said for 2 weeks now, Kansas is looking like the Kansas that we thought they were going to be. They're finding their foot. Hot. They're getting hot. Obviously, it sucks it's too late because now that it's just to make a bowl game. But they're playing some really good football right now. They have to win the next one in order to make a bowl game. I believe they play Kansas State. So they have to win that one in order to make a bowl game, and they can go 4 weeks in a row with beating a ranked team. But, I mean, hey, Cam said last week that this was going to be a scarier game for them at Colorado, and Kansas could beat them, and they did. Kansas ran the ball well. Uh, I think, yeah, Neal had 37 carries, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Jalen Daniels had 6 carries, 72 yards. So when you're able to run the ball like that, you control the clock, you're gonna win some games. And Colorado's playing from behind, so they gotta throw the ball. And when you kind of just have to throw the ball, you can just play. The defense can play a little bit different, and just you know prevent big yards. So
Yeah,
um,
Kansas was able to just to kind of do what they've been doing, just run the ball. That, like we said in the offseason, that is the recipe to beating Colorado. They've obviously gotten better at defense and things like that, but I just think they ran into a hot team. That's I think at the end of the day, that's what it was. They ran into a team that has you know we've all known has the potential to be doing this. They just are starting to do it now, and they're starting to make. They literally have single handedly messed up the Big 12 race. They mean beating the teams they have and in the playoff race. So this is a team, right? Like Kansas. I mean, people say you are what your schedule is, but like right now, Kansas is playing like a top 25 team. I mean, they beat 3 ranked teams in a row. Obviously, the resume from their early losses aren't showing that, but I mean, they're
oh, they
good,
play Baylor. Ooh,
and they even lost to K State by 2 on the road. So it's like they're 2 points away from having three straight ranked wins or 4 straight
four
ranked
straight
wins.
ranked wins, 5 game win streak.
Right, and then they're going into they're playing a hot Baylor team as well this Saturday. So it's like you know it's tough that they had that tough stretch in September because if they didn't have that, this would be a team that would be, especially with the way Big 12 is looking now, they'd be right in the mix for a playoff spot.
Yeah, yeah. So, a team that they beat, number 22, Iowa State, rallies late, edges out a win in Utah, 31-28. Utah's defense would keep harassing Iowa State and create turnovers, but it would not be enough as Iowa State would score with a minute 31 left in the fourth quarter to uplift Iowa State over Utah. Um, Utah true freshman quarterback Isaac Wilson will go out with an injury late in the third quarter, leading to the fifth string quarterback. Oh my God, Luke Batari to take over the Utes late in the game. The Utes have maybe there's just there might just be a quarterback issue over there, like as in fifth string quarterback, fifth string. Like you're telling me 4 quarterbacks have gotten hurt. Cam Rising gets hurt every year, and now 4 other quarterbacks have gotten hurt this year, or 3 other quarterbacks have gotten hurt this year.
Yeah, it might be like I don't really watch Utah a ton, but maybe they just like do something with the QBs that like puts them in harm's way for them to get hurt. Right. I know like you want to run your QBs and stuff, but it has to be certain run plays. They obviously the QBs have to be smart too. Like you can't think I mean, all of them get hurt. At the end of the day, if you're a running QB, you're gonna probably get hurt at some point. Like Anthony Richardson, Cam Newton, even Lamar Jackson have all gotten hurt, and those are all gifted athletes and runners with the football. So it's like
Yeah,
you just can't be taking
it
those
was
shots.
something over there because that's insane. Fun fact: Utah will finish below 500 for the first time since 2013.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a tough year for them, right? Like I great coach over there, just kind of been dealt a tough hand. It's always been something. I mean, they came from the Pac-12, so it wasn't like they came from a Group of Five conference, but just acclimating to a new conference sometimes is harder for teams than we realize. And when you have that many injuries, it can derail the season. I think Utah they'll be fine, right? Like that well coached, as long as he stays, he doesn't retire. Well coached, disciplined team, things like that. So I'm excited to see what it looks like in the future. But shout out to the Big 12. It's a ton of parity. I'm sure we'll dive into it later
Yeah.
on this week.
Um, Real quick, Iowa State now plays Kansas State in the game they need to win to punch a ticket to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I said, a lot of parity in the Big 12. Now, also the best conference in the nation. The SEC folds on itself and with 2 weeks left as 3 ranked teams lose. Um, hey man, I don't think any other conference is able to do this, but even the mid-tier teams can beat the top-tier teams. Um, Lagway era keeps rolling. Gators get back-to-back rank wins as they take down number 9 Ole Miss 24-17. Uh, who was it? Did you say that Florida was going to win this game?
I did. I said Florida. Well, I didn't completely go out right on a limb like I did when they played LSU, but I did say I would not be surprised. I definitely had them covering. Florida, like we've been saying about Kansas, different team from the beginning of the season, playing inspired football. DJ Lagway is a dude. I mean,
quarterback who should have been starting all season.
and even his interception he threw, like it literally was a good throw. It just went off the receiver's hands, and it was one of those tipped, like off the receiver picks. But I mean, he played well, did what he had to do. Florida controlled the line of scrimmage for the most part. Jackson Dart, obviously, they throw the ball all over the field and things like that. Trey Harris gets hurt, which I think really did hurt Ole Miss. Obviously, they've been playing without him, but he catches a nice touchdown early in the game and then gets hurt, and Florida just starts making adjustments. I don't really like that Ole Miss. They run that defensive lineman on short yard situations. They ran it early in the red zone, got stuffed, cost them some points, and then Florida ended up taking the lead. And then Jackson Dart, he threw interceptions, but they were just bonehead interceptions at the end of the game, like throws that you could just tell, like he is like we lose, we're out the playoffs. I gotta throw these. I gotta try. And threw some interceptions, and it was tough for Ole Miss to go out like that because they're one of the most confusing teams in the country. They'll beat Georgia and dominate them and look like a top team in the country, and then they'll just lose to Kentucky, Florida. Who else have they lost to? They have 3 losses, right?
Yeah, they lost to Kentucky, LSU, and yeah.
So they'll have these losses where it's like they shouldn't have probably lost, but they end up losing. It's very Lane Kiffin. He can beat some teams, and I thought he had arrived, right?
Beat Georgia. South Carolina at South Carolina.
Yeah, and I thought he had arrived. Like Lane Kiffin has struggled in the past, and Jackson Dart to beat bigger, better teams in the country. And I was comparing them kind of to Penn State, like the Penn State of the SEC. Very similar. It can beat everyone they're supposed to be, and then they get ranked high. They get these primetime games where they match up with these teams, and they just can never beat them. So when they finally beat Georgia and come over the hump and lose, or they beat Georgia and then they lose these other games, it's very frustrating. And I tweeted it after they lost. Ole Miss, they spent the most money, or at least one of the top spenders in the transfer portal last season. Obviously, you think you have your guy, and know you have your guy with Lane Kiffin. But when you're a program like Ole Miss, who hasn't won at the highest level ever, can you pony up like that consistently and get a roster like that consistently? And especially if you're not recruiting at that level consistently, to continue to replicate championship level teams year in and year out, especially when you had the team this year and didn't make the playoff.
So I was going to ask you a question. I want to write this one down. Timestamp.
Okay.
What do you rank Ole Miss as in tier levels? Not now, just in general.
All time or
what?
Yeah. Probably like
Are they elite? Are they right under elite? Are they good, mid tier, bad? Where
I would say they're mid tier to maybe good, because like they've never have been like a contender in college football until recently, and even then they still haven't even gotten over the hump. At least when you talk about teams like Penn State and others, they've won natties, they've gotten to natties. They've consistently been in, they've won their conferences, things like that. Like Ole Miss hasn't even played an SEC title, I don't think, since.
No, they've never played an SEC title ever. There's 3 teams who have never played an SEC title. It's A&M, Vanderbilt, and Ole Miss.
Yeah, so I think right there, like
obviously with the exception of us because we just got
I don't think you can put them there. They just have never won at that level, and that's why even when people were like, "Oh, like would Lane Kiffin leave Ole Miss for Florida or LSU?" I'm like, yes. Like at the end of the day, maybe they're not in the same position that Ole Miss is in currently, but like when you look at college football and like what I would tell people about Oklahoma, it's like Oklahoma's never been bad for like an extended period of time. Yeah. History usually repeats itself, and usually administration, culture of winning, brand recognition, things like that. Lane Kiffin can do what he is doing tenfold out of Florida or out of LSU because they're just better suited, more resources. The pressure is cranked up there, but that's because they pour more into the team. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think Ole Miss can pony up like that year in and year out. And they're not recruiting at a high enough level to just rely on recruits. We had a ton of injuries, if we're using this as an example, but we recruit at such a good level that our freshmen are able to slide in and contribute right away, and we're going to continue to recruit like that. Ole Miss is, anywhere in the range from 15 to 25 ranking recruiting classes year in and year out. That's good, but it ain't good enough.
Which is crazy to think about because we
natties.
do, me included, like kind of put Ole Miss on a pedestal and talk highly of them and think they are better than what they are. But when push comes to shove, never been to an SEC championship, never seen them in the national championship, and they never really contend for anything. So they're just kind of like a mid-tier team. I mean, yes, it sucks. Like before Oklahoma and Texas went in, they were in the division they were in, but
yeah,
other people have made it from that division. That's the issue.
Yeah, and it was all LSU. It was always LSU, Auburn, or Bama. Those three teams, and you could probably argue Auburn's a better job than Ole Miss. You can. I mean, they won. They might not do it as consistently, but Auburn every 10 years they got a team that might make it to a natty somehow.
I was just wondering that because I saw that interesting stat that they've never made it to an SEC championship, and I thought because they asked it on the Auburn A&M game, and I knew A&M and Vanderbilt have never made it, but I know Ole Miss has never made it. So I was like, maybe I gotta jump off the train, man. Maybe I'll jump off the wagon and reassess some things with them because you can't not make a SEC championship being in there for so long.
100%.
Or even making a national championship.
They've had generational talent. I mean,
they have.
Arch Manning was there, and then Eli was there. Like Eli is the all-time leading pass leader at Ole Miss, and even then, like their ceiling was probably like 8 or 9 games, winning games. So that's why, like, when Lane Kiffin got there and they've been winning, more like 10 plus games, it's like, okay, like they're kind of like elevated to this pedestal. But even this year, when they beat Georgia, they still have those lapses and lose the games they shouldn't. It's like this team, I would say 2 losses is probably fine. Maybe like LSU, it's LSU, and then maybe the Georgia game. But I feel like they should have beat everyone else, Kentucky, Florida, and been in the playoff. Like everyone had them penciled in as a playoff lock early in the season, and they just
even last week
show up. Yeah, last week. I mean, everyone thought everyone was like they're going to beat Florida. It might be tough, and then they play the Egg Bowl, and like now I'm not saying they're going to lose to Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State, but it is a rivalry game. I mean,
they're looking better each week. They've been looking better, so I don't think they'll lose, but I wouldn't. Don't be surprised if it's a close game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to ask that question. Yeah. Where we at? Okay. Oklahoma beats number 7 Alabama. So Auburn takes number 15 A&M to 4 overtimes, knock off the Aggies for their second conference win. After taking a huge 21-0 lead at the beginning of the game, A&M would storm back to get the game, eventually take the lead. However, Auburn kicker Ian Bachone's 29-yard field goal with 5 seconds left would tie the game up to send it into overtime. I knew when they were up 21-0 that their A&M was going to come back. I just, just knowing who Auburn is, and knowing who A&M is, you never knew the game was just out of A&M's hand. They would go on to a 31-7 run, I think. They didn't score a touchdown until the fourth quarter or something like that. After the first quarter, so A&M, they came back, they tied the game up, took the lead, and it was interesting because they scored kind of fast, and then I was like, they won the game. Like their defense has been shutting them out and whatnot. Then they drive down the field, and I was like, they still won the game because they have to kick a field goal. Their field goal, like Auburn's field goal team this year, or special team this year, just hasn't been good. Like the field goal kicker is just not good, and like he has an under 50% field goal rate. So making them. So I was like, this He's probably gonna miss. It's too much pressure. He's probably gonna miss. He goes on, sinks it, and then they go on overtime, and it's just kind of back and forth in the overtime. And
Yeah, I mean
I was
they
trying to
got
ask, so how does it work? Is it first overtime, both teams get the possession, you score, you go for field goal. Second overtime, you got to go for two. Third overtime is just straight 2 point conversions.
yes,
So
exactly.
third and forward is
Third,
just straight 2 point
you
conversions.
blame LSU and A&M for that.
Yeah. Well, I
Boys
looked
were
it up.
stat padding.
I looked it up. That's the second highest overtime. Penn State has the first at 9. They went to 9 overtimes with somebody. I forgot who. But A&M and LSU have went to 7, and then Penn State and somebody else went to 9. I forgot who it was though. But okay, so they go to 4 overtimes, and on the third overtime, both of them missed their attempt. Fourth overtime comes. Um, Auburn has the ball first. They convert. A&M comes out. They run a. I mean, the play they ran was phenomenal. Me personally, I think it should have been flipped. I think um, Daniel should have been the one taking the ball out of the backfield and then pitching it to what's his name, Marcel Reed, and then I think that Terry Bussey should have been the one catching the ball, not Daniels catching the ball. But I mean, he run a phenomenal play. He's wide open. Hits him right in the chest, and he just drops it. Auburn and goes on to win the game. Um, Obviously, I was happy. You know, again, the Lord's work was done here again. I think we're after they lost this game, we're in the playoffs no matter what, even if we lose to A&M. Because last week it was like we had to beat A&M to even make it to the playoffs. But I think we're in the playoffs no matter what, even if we do lose to them. Um, they just have a quarterback problem too. That's just it. Like
Mhm.
as good as Marcel is with his legs, like I understand he's a true freshman, so I'm not gonna like harp on him too much. But
Mhm.
his he just makes poor decisions sometimes, and he turns the ball over, and that's just kind of what happened with this game too. Is I think he had like a pick or two in this game, um, and it just they don't have like elite weapons on the outside for him to make poor decisions. One pick, so he threw one pick. Um,
Yeah, I mean he played great.
he played great, but it was just
He had over 300 total yards,
yeah. Um,
66 on the ground.
but I mean, a lot of the passing yards obviously came when they were down 20-0
Yeah,
because you have to throw
for
the
sure.
ball.
Yeah,
Um, but Auburn played phenomenal on defense. I mean, this like I said, this is a team that feeds off the run game. With their two top running backs being out, does hurt them. Um, but Amara Daniels, 27 carries, 90 yards. That's not great. Like to have 27 carries and not even touch 100, that's not great. For a quarterback, it's a little bit different. 21 carries, 66 yards. You'll take that. Um, Obviously, you'd want the yard to be up a little bit, but you'll still take it. Um, I thought EJ Smith was running the ball too, but I guess not. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's where they controlled the game was just the run game, the rushing. They played phenomenal there, and you know, I mean, Peyton Thorne. You said he was gonna probably Thorne, and I mean, he threw a pick, but he still played phenomenal. 301 yards, 2 touchdowns. Um, you can't you can't ask for a better game. Yes, he threw a pick, and that's been his downfall, but they still won the game, and he played well. So, I
yeah.
mean,
I wanted to highlight Cam Coleman, 7 catches, 128 yards.
another dog that's a true freshman.
Yeah, he made the all freshman list or whatever that comes out every week. Another 5-star guy. I mean, like I said, Hugh Freeze. I mean, hey, Auburn's 5-6. They're gonna be playing. Bama just came off a disappointing loss. Well,
Imagine.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? They might, like
I meant to ask you this earlier.
Have a chance to make the playoff because
I meant to ask you this earlier, but I guess if they lose to Auburn, how bad is that for DeBoer? Like now he has 3 losses. First season in. All his losses have been to horrible teams.
Well, chill.
Well, like record wise. No, like record wise.
Yeah.
Record wise, have been to horrible teams. And then you come in, you play Auburn, and you lose.
Yeah, they got him at home, so I don't think they will. But hey, I mean, it's Iron Bowl. But,
even then, but like the 3 losses he has now.
Yeah, I mean,
I
just don't know what people expected. I mean, the thing is, he beat Georgia. They could still make the playoff.
Well, he lost to Tennessee. I guess it's not. That's a good loss, but I think just the way they played it was just bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. I mean, a lot of it, it's just a lot of change in regime. They still lost a ton of guys on that team to the portal, and then you also have to address that he's replacing the GOAT. Like, it's hard to do that anywhere. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen overnight. And he's a damn good coach. I mean, he literally played in the Natty last year. I think Alabama fans have been spoiled because they saw the greatest the sport's ever seen at one program for an extended period of time. So I think you got to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, some of the losses are kind of like head scratchers, but I would say he needs still getting, like, he doesn't even have he's playing with, like, Milroe, he didn't recruit. We all know DeBoer's offense is a certain way, and he has a certain guy he probably wants to run it. But you obviously got to rock with Milroe. He's the best guy there, has the most experience, is still very talented. But I guarantee he's not running his offense the way he wants to run it. So let's wait and see, to the Alabama fans, if he, can once he gets his recruits in, once he kind of establishes more of his culture, what it really looks like. Moving forward. And he's still recruiting at a crazy level. I think Alabama has a top 3 class right now. So it's not like there's a drop off in that aspect. On on-field play, there has been a little bit of drop offs, but there's so much parity now. It's not like Alabama used to just hoard talent. They used to have third stringers that literally never played that would still get drafted.
Yeah.
So, it's a different day and age. And I think everything has to be looked at. The schedules are way harder. Back in the day, Alabama really only had to beat LSU, and
they would be fine.
They'd be fine. Now the schedules are all mixed. You might have a schedule like Georgia where you play, Texas
back to back, and it's just Bama, a gauntlet.
Ole Miss, you play all 4 of those teams in a year. It's like Georgia, for example, they played all 4 of those teams. Like, the fact they split those, that's great.
Yeah.
Or they didn't even split. They won all. Yeah, they split those. No, they split those.
They split them. Yeah.
But it's like you split those. It's like you're feeling good. You split those playing against the top level teams in the conference. And you can lose now. Like, I'm not saying you want to, but you can afford a couple losses.
You can afford 2 losses, and three might be okay in today's age of football.
Especially now. Like, I mean, we'll see. I mean, this year's been crazy. Like, I feel like teams are getting upset every week.
It's rigged.
So. They want to make it like this.
Absolutely. First year, and they want to make chaos like this. It's rigged.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, some quick hitters. Number 12, Boise State avoids a scare just to keep turning into the Heisman convo as Broncos survive a 17-13 victory. Number 19, Army gets blown out at Yankee Stadium by number 6 Notre Dame, 41-14 loss. Jacksonville State hangs tough but beats Sam Houston at home, 21-11. Liberty keeps their CUSA championship alive win against Western Kentucky. Number 24 UNLV overcomes San Jose State in late Friday night game, looking to clinch for a Mountain West championship spot against Boise State with a win next week. So some quick hits for y'all. And then right now, just as it stands right now, number 13 SMU clinches a spot in the ACC championship. And one will play either number 8 if Miami wins at Syracuse or number 17 Clemson if Miami loses. Clemson just won't go away, man. They will not go away. They're just in it.
It's Clemson, man. I mean, Clemson might not even need to play for the ACC title and might make the playoff with everything that's going on.
I don't think so, but we'll see.
I mean, they only lost to Georgia, and then I guess Louisville, but that's it.
I think they
beat
3
South
losses.
Carolina. That's a resume pattern. They have 2. It's a resume pattern.
We'll see. I mean, I think South Carolina's going to win that game,
I
but
do too, but I'm just saying if they win that game, like they should make the playoff.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Louisville and Georgia.
So
Um, number 10 Georgia clinches a spot in the SEC championship. Will face either number 3 Texas or 15 A&M, depending on who wins the renewed rivalry this coming up week. Number 1 Oregon clinched a spot in the Big Ten championship with the win last week over Wisconsin. There are 3 teams that are still competing for the second spot: Ohio State, Penn State, and number 5 Indiana. If Ohio State wins against Michigan in the game, they're in the championship. If Ohio State loses and Penn State wins against Maryland, Penn State's in. If both Ohio State and Penn State lose, then Indiana would be in. Um, so that's the Big 12. Basically, Ohio State just controls their own destiny. Um, Same thing with Texas. And then here we are in the Big 12. Nobody has clinched a spot in the Big 12 championship, and there's still technically 9 teams in contention to go to Dallas, with 16 Colorado and 14 BYU losing. It has put the number 1 spot in 4-way tie between 4 teams: Colorado, BYU, Iowa State, and Arizona State. If these teams all finish 7-2, Arizona State and Iowa State would automatically get bids into the game. There is so much that can happen that we're plugging in the Big 12 website concerning tiebreaker. So the Big 12 is just chaos as it usually is. It just kind of seems that Arizona State and Iowa State control their own destiny with wins this weekend, which is interesting to be like Arizona State. The way it just kind of looked at the start of the season that they were going to be in championship talk, but they play at Arizona, a rivalry game, which I think they took care of business. But you just never know. And then Iowa State, do you know who else they play off the top of your head? They play Kansas State. That's a scary game for Iowa State.
Farmageddon.
So we'll see. I mean, Iowa State has a tough one. I don't know what would have to happen for Colorado to get in. It says it right here. Colorado lost Arizona State versus Iowa State. Arizona State lost Iowa State versus BYU. Iowa State lost Arizona State versus BYU. BYU lost. If Tech defeats West Virginia, then it'll be. Then if Baylor beats Kansas and Cincinnati beats TCU, Colorado versus Iowa State. Otherwise, Colorado versus Arizona State. So you just got to win. So it seems. I don't know who BYU plays the last game of the season, but you have. If you don't want it to go into somebody else, on other people's downfall, you just got to win.
Yeah, I'm hoping Colorado can get in, man. I really do. I think it'll be good for the sport.
BYU plays Houston.
It is. Hey, Houston ain't bad, man. I mean, they beat K-State. I mean, they
got BYU at 13.5.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I need them Texas boys to go put that ass or that belt on the Mormons real quick. Get them up out of here, please. Please get them out of here, bro. I already said. You know what? I'm gonna just say it right now. Houston money line, man. Get them out of here.
Oh, wow. We haven't even made it to the regular 54-yard show, and we're already talking about money lines.
Get them up out of here, man. Like I said, they lost last week. I want them out. I want Colorado in. I do, man. I just think they have in my opinion, they have the best chance to upset someone in the playoff. I know, like, they lost last week. I know, but they have the most NFL talent, the best NFL talent at key positions, and I just think with Coach Prime, giving him a chance to not only motivate and with his great coaching staff to prepare, I think they'll show up. I don't know. I can't say the same about these other teams. I know they're well coached and things like that. I just think it's all about matchups.
Yeah.
But anybody, unless they play like an Indiana or something, I think, or maybe a Penn State, I don't know. Like, I think the Big 12 teams will get they're going to get smacked around in there. SMU, I don't know if SMU, I don't know how good they are too. They're good, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe like teams like that, but they play any of these big dogs from the SEC or Notre Dame or these big dogs in the Big Ten, bro, it's not going to look good. It's not.
Yeah.
So
And earlier in the show, I said I'll give my top 12. So this is gonna be the AP. This is not the official one, but AP has been pretty similar with the exceptions of a few teams in the rankings. But number one, Oregon. Number two, Ohio State. Number three, Texas. Number four, Penn State. Number five, Notre Dame. Number six, Georgia. Number seven, Tennessee. Number eight, Miami. Number nine, SMU. 10, Indiana. 11, Boise State. 12, Clemson. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, not all these teams can make it. And then this is in no order. This was my playoff uh, bracket or teams
Yeah,
as of huh?
your 12 best.
Yeah, my 12 best teams as of right now. Oregon number 1, Ohio State number 2, Texas number 3, Penn State number 4, Tennessee 5, Georgia 6, Notre Dame 7, Boise 8, a Big 12 team, SMU, Miami, Indiana. That's not in any order. Those are just the 12 best teams that I think deserve a spot in the playoff.
Yeah.
You can agree, you can disagree, but those are the 12.
Yeah, I mean, as of now,
teams.
As of now, that's. I mean, you're spot on. I think you're right. Like Indiana lost, but I mean, so much happened that it kind of masked it. It doesn't matter. I don't think at this point. I think they're still in. I think there's a chance for a couple other teams to make some noise and get maybe at least make the debate harder on Selection Sunday. Clemson being one of them. South Carolina being one of them. Obviously, they're going to play, so one of them is going to get eliminated from that. But you never know. The only team, SMU locked their ACC championship appearance, but if Miami loses this weekend, then Clemson will go. And even if Clemson,
at Syracuse or something?
Yeah, and even if Clemson loses in South Carolina, they could still make the playoff because they just gotta, and they could get a bye because they just gotta win the conference. So, it's gonna be interesting, man. It's like shout out my boy JD Piquel over there at On Three. He put out a tweet. He was like, it's crazy. He was like, when the 12-team playoffs were announced, people said like the regular season games wouldn't matter as much, or the rivalry weekend wouldn't matter as much. But it's like, bro, there's so many teams that still have a chance right now, and there's a lot of teams that hate their rival, and they would love to see their team or see their rival not make the playoff because they took care of business against them in the last week of the regular season. So I'm excited, man. It should be a good weekend. A ton of good football. It sucks that the regular season is literally coming to a close, but it's just beginning. The fun's just getting started. After rivalry weekend, we got conference championships, we got bowl games, and then the playoffs and things like that. So still got about almost 2 months left of football in college. So
yeah,
it's
fun.
Got some award winner finalist lists coming out, and got some stuff like that to talk about coming up in a couple of weeks. So.
Yes, sir. Selection Sunday is December 8th, right?
Yeah, I think it's the very next day. Like, no, I think it might be the 3rd. I think it's dead ass the next
because day. Championship games are not conference Saturday. Championship games are December 7th.
Yes.
So is Selection Sundays after those, right?
Yeah, it's the very next day.
Yeah. So
it's the very next day.
Yep. Well, that'll do it for your boys over here, man. Hey, it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. We got a scary one this week. I I want to throw up already. Got a pit in my stomach. So, I think some of us, majority of Texas fans are very confident. Others not so much, like including myself. Mm-hmm. Cam has off the record have said A&M was gonna win. But we'll see. We got some good rivalry games to talk about on this episode coming up. It's always a fun time of the year. Anything can happen when it comes to rivalry games. So look forward to those. Look forward to some upsets because it's probably going to happen. Alabama last year had to win literally the last play of the game to beat Auburn. So that just kind of just shows you anything goes. But that'll do it for this episode of the week after. Crazy week this past week. Hopefully it gets just crazier because, we love the chaos, especially college football fans across the world. They love the chaos. They like to see stuff like that. But, Cam, do you have any last remarks before we hit this off?
Nah, just, it feels a lot better to record these, finally winning, especially a big game. This is still Oklahoma, man. So this is, this is what we got to do, and this is what we do. So, excited to be bowl eligible, excited to know that even, regardless of the result this upcoming Saturday, we'll be playing in a bowl game, get more experience. And then, it's going to be a fun offseason for us. So, a lot of question marks around like certain things that need to happen and change. But it's been one of the best years, even with us being not in the conversation for the Natty like we usually are, to talk about the sport that I love and Carlos loves and everyone else loves, and just kind of, just the first year of it, right? Like it's supposed to expand. If you guys like, other football, FCS playoffs start this weekend, 16 team bracket, and the D2 playoffs start as well this weekend. So I'll be checking some of that out. Shout out to Coach Mack over there in the D2 level, coaching DC at Pueblo. They got the number 1 seed in the D2. So I'm hoping they can, win a Natty. If they end up going, I might go because it's in Frisco or McKinley or whatever. They play at one of those big ass like school district stadiums for the D2 Natty. So they end up making a run. I'm gonna have to go to that. But,
yeah. That'll do it. We'll see y'all guys on this week's episode of 54 Yards. And until next time, as always, welcome.
Boomer.